The fearful weight of true obedience, it was held by Him. What wondrous faith to bear.
Welcome back to the Daily Bible Reading Group. So glad that you are here with us. It is day 54 of our crawl through Ephesians in January and February of 2022. I'm Bruce Taylor, your host. You're all very welcome. Today we are going to cover two verses, Ephesians 6, 14, and 15. And it is the next chunk in our talk about the armor of God. So here we get a little more detail, right? So we talked about the purpose, whose armor it is, right? What it's based on, and what it's about, and that there's a real battle, and it's spiritual, and it is high stakes because the very souls of people are at stake. So now we hit some detail about some of this. Stand therefore, having fastened on the belt of truth, and having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and as shoes for your feet, having put on the readiness given by the gospel of peace. So I've got it broken up a bit because I want to focus on some of these different elements of the armor, how it's described, okay? So the first is this belt of truth. What is this belt of truth about? Is it merely a statement that says you and I are called to be honest? Well, I think that's fair. Honesty is obviously important, right? We're to stand in this with this belt of truth fastened. Honesty is a whole lot easier to remain stable in than if you're trying to juggle lies. I think that's good. I think it's more than that. Belt of truth. I believe, first and foremost, it is God's truth. Remember, it's His belt, right? You didn't create this belt of truth. God did. Now, do I think you need to be honest? Yes. But you need to fasten God's truth to you. It needs to become a part of you. It's part of how you stand. How are you going to learn God's truth? Well, we're working on it right now. You're getting into His Word. And the more you are learning His Word and applying it to your life, you are fastening His truth. And it's going to help you stand. Okay? What about the second one? Breastplate of righteousness. Breastplate of righteousness. Again, whose is it? God's. It's not yours. Whose righteousness? Is it that you figured out how to live better? That you're just a better person now? You do nicer, kinder things? No. The righteousness of Christ. You're putting on this armor. It's made by God. It is the righteousness of Christ. So if you think of it this way, the enemy is hurling things at you, like arrows or whatever. Come and try and smack you with a stone or a spear, or right in the chest. But you have Christ's righteousness there, guarding you, protecting you. If it was based on my righteousness, I'd be in trouble. That would be really, really faulty, weak armor. It's Christ's righteousness. It is strong. It is durable. It endures. It is eternal. It's based on Him. Are you living reminded that that is the righteousness you've received in your salvation? And that no matter what the evil one says to you or about you, no matter the way that he tries to infect your mind with negative thoughts, about yourself? No matter the fact that, yeah, you know what? You did blow it and sin yesterday, today, tomorrow. Be reminded this righteousness doesn't come from you. It comes from Christ. It's part of that gift of grace from God. That doesn't make it okay that we are sinning or struggling, but it means that that is not how we are defined. Our struggles do not change this breastplate. It's not ours. It's God's, but we get to wear it as a gift. Okay? So it's Christ's righteousness. What about these shoes? Shoes for your feet, having put on the readiness given by the gospel of peace. Interesting choice of words, right? So we are to be those who are in motion, shoes, moving, going, progressing through life on a journey with readiness, being prepared. For what? Well, is be prepared by the gospel of peace. Prepared for what? Testimony. Sharing what God's done for you. Sharing about this amazing gospel you've come to understand, and how God is calling people to be reconciled to Him through Christ. Be somebody who places the gospel well in your mind, in your heart, in your life. Whose shoes are these? God's. Whose gospel of peace is it? His. So we need to be about the gospel. This is a part of this battle. It's a part of this battle. And so we are to make sure that these things are a part of how we are growing and learning. Truth, the truth of God's word, the righteousness of Christ, the gospel. What has God done for us, and what is He offering to others? And so we are to be reminded of those things because we are to put on the whole armor of God, all of it. So this isn't like, oh, yeah, no, I get it. Like, I need to be reminded of this righteousness of Christ because I get that, by grace, and it reminds me of who I am in Him now, and that's cool. But, I'm not really much for reading and studying the Bible, the truth things, or I don't really get into talking about the gospel, or I don't. No. This is not optional stuff. Paul is not saying, hey, listen, here's an assortment of armor from God. You pick and choose what you want to put on. It'll be fine. We are to put it all on. And if you've ever had an opportunity to put on physical armor, like some ancient physical armor, one thing you'll know is that it was not necessarily comfortable. In fact, oftentimes some of the best armor was a bit uncomfortable for the wearer. And that's actually okay. Your flesh should be a bit uncomfortable with God's armor. Your flesh struggles, is imperfect, it's weak. God's armor is perfect in every way. So I'm not saying it's just some easy thing. You just do this. No, I am saying we need to intentionally be reminded of these things. It's why Paul wrote it. Okay? So I'm going to leave you with that for today. We'll be back tomorrow to talk some more about some of this armor, okay? All right. Bye-bye for now.